Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome, everybody. Let's see who is here. All right, it says streaming status bad, so I apologize if it's not coming on well. Let's see. Data Junkie was first. Anna Morabito, Belinda Brubaker, Silver E55, New Guy. Dark Wolf's Den, Bubbles. Autumn Nichols. Hey. All right, let's see what's going on here. All right, Mark was asking about Turks and Caicos. You know, I've never even heard of Turks and Caicos till about maybe a year ago. So now you hear about it constantly. I'm not sure if it's just a new island or it's gotten a lot bigger. But it was just non-existent for me before. A lot of islands were like really tiny little kind of nothing burgers before are now much bigger. So it might be that. I mean, if you just have a little rock, nobody's heard of it. And then now it's this giant tourist place and stuff. Was there a purple squirrel in the news? I had a thing on before a long time ago about a couple of actual purple colored squirrels that were found in a couple places through the United States. Nobody knew why their fur was purple. But there also is that giant squirrel that has all the weird colors on it. And it has a big long tail that's it's kind of prehensile looking. That thing, I've had that one on a couple times too, and it's kind of like rainbow looking. It gets more rainbow every time it's on. I might as well put that one on. Rainbow squirrel. I think it's called rainbow squirrel. That one just keeps kind of regenerating with the colors and coming back around. So you'll see there's one. Malabar giant squirrel. It's just getting more and more colors on it. So it just looks more and more ridiculous. It's got this big long tail thing. That's the photo that I originally saw, but there's a lot more coloration going on the face now and on the ears than originally, and the colors here on the tail are brighter than they were originally. It's like the entire it's like somebody turned up the color saturation on all the photos or something. So these are a real species, these guys here. Twitter goes nuts for huge multicolored squirrel, as long as a cat. So they're big. Oh, interesting. See, I don't remember this giant poof here either. The coloration has gotten weirder and weirder. Anyway, so that's an ME for sure. And it's just still, developing. Yeah, okay. You know what? There's just been a big wave of people asking if I've heard about the rainbow squirrel. So I figured it must have shown up somewhere. We've covered that one several times, but like I said, it is more bright than it used to be. Yeah, giant squirrel. I think it's Indonesian. Indonesia is a lot bigger than it used to be, too. Have I always been aware of the Chevrolet Love pickup truck? I just don't keep track of vehicles that much. There's just certain classes of vehicle that I checked during certain years when I was thinking of buying them or something. If it's not exactly one of those, then I wouldn't know about it. I mean, it certainly doesn't look familiar at all, but light pickup trucks designed and manufactured by Isuzu and marketed in the Americas since 1972. Let's see if we can find more specific dates on these. Since 1972, light utility vehicle, LUV. Ended in 1980. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have known about it. I didn't, at that age, I didn't care about any of that stuff. Light utility vehicle, LUV. All right. So I wanted to revisit this Subaru logo thing. This is the current Subaru logo. A while back, there was a lot of talk about the logo used to have more stars. I kind of remember one either here or here. Then here's the thing. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 of these stars, but it's supposed to be a logo of the Pleiades star system, and that Pleiades has 7 stars in it. So this one only has 6. So there's a little bit of confusion there. Every time I look at this Subaru logo, there's a different storyline behind it. Now, last I read up on this, it was saying that the big star was just symbolic of unity and all the other stars together. Now I think that there were more, but I'm not sure. There was something weird about the number of stars in the Pleiades versus the Subaru logo last time. And the explanation was that one of the stars was like an extra one, which didn't make a lot of sense, so I was already suspicious. Well, now it's a whole nother story. So now they're saying there's 7 or more stars in the Pleiades. There's only 6 in the Subaru logo, even though it's supposed to be after the Pleiades. Okay, so there's sentences that are hard to understand. This is supposed to be the Pleiades here. It kind of looks like the logo. I don't know, maybe, but this star's way down here, and then these should be up there, so it's not very close. Okay, so right now there's 6 stars in the Subaru logo, but what do they say about the Pleiades? The 9 brightest stars of the Pleiades, the 9 brightest stars of the Pleiades are named for the 7 sisters of Greek mythology. How does that even make sense? You've got 9 stars, and they're named for the 7 sisters. Now, I do remember this being called the 7 sisters, especially like a couple years ago when the Subaru logo was being talked about. It was the Pleiades as the 7 sisters. Okay, so how can you have 9 stars named after the 7 sisters? It already sounds really fishy. So they're saying that they're including the parents of the sisters, Atlas and Pleione, as part of. So why would you call it the 7 sisters though? If there's 9 stars, you would call it like the nine family members or something. So it does not make sense. All right, so here they kind of discuss that. Interestingly, widely separated and totally different cultures have always described the Pleiades as the 7 sisters, 7 maidens, or 7 little girls. Yet, only 6 stars are readily visible to most observers. Those with more acute eyesight may glimpse up to 12 under good conditions. But why this cluster has been cited by more than one early people as having 7 members remains a mystery. So it's the 7 sisters. You could only see 6, but there's actually like 12 on there. None of that makes any sense. Then you match it up with the Subaru logo change, and that might be why this particular logo had to change, because the Pleiades system changed. If the Pleiades system changes, then the Subaru logo has to change. The thing is, though, the Subaru logo does not match up with the current Pleiades system. So will we see more changes and then they finally match, or what? All I know is that this storyline here is not the one I read like a year ago when I looked this up. So something is rotten in Denmark is all I have to say. There's another example of it. This one is a little closer to the logo. But again, one big star, which I think would be this one, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But see, there's 6 out here, plus the big star. But the logo only has the 5. So, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, let's see what you guys are up to. Seems like the incredible South America shift to the east has really gained momentum recently. Yeah, it just keeps cranking eastwards. It's almost completely past North America now, but it's, to me, it's just been kind of a slow, gradual creep. But yeah, it's way over there now. That's a funny looking squirrel, long tail, nose, funny big hands, head looks like koala. Yeah, I know it. Why it looks more like some kind of a koala relative or something. You got those tree kangaroos. It actually reminds me a lot of a tree kangaroo, which are also a ME for me. Those stars didn't connect. Yeah, I don't remember them connecting either. I do not remember this at all. And I think there was another one up here. Yeah, I don't remember the connecting. I remember them all being separate, definitely. And if you kind of look from a distance, that's a lot closer to how I remember it. But actually, interestingly, I think not too long ago, it was just these two that connected. Now I'm looking at it, and these ones are connected. I think that's kind of new. It was just that one and that one that connected. All right, so that's Subaru. This one, who brought this one up? This one was Worked of, commenter on the channel. She's noticed a ton of these around suddenly. They've had their tires converted to these like caterpillar tracks. I have to say, I saw the first one about a month ago. She said she saw 3 suddenly in a very short period of time and never seen them before. Yeah, I thought it was some kind of really rare thing when I saw it a month ago. But if you look these up, they've been selling them for 25 years. And you can actually buy these and have and convert your vehicle. It's like the ones I saw were like $11,000, so they're not cheap. But I don't know. It's just suspicious to me. I saw the Statue of Liberty having a green flame in the Walk Like an Egyptian music video. Oops, I don't know what we're talking about here. Yeah, I went to one of the manufacturers, and they said they've been selling them for over 25 years. Well, I'm glad you think it's ridiculous. It looks so inefficient to me. I don't know. Okay, so now this one's a really interesting one. It was quite some time ago when I remember them saying that there were some weird track lines in some of the ancient fields that looked like the place had been mud, and then cars drove through it, and then the mud turned to stone or something. This kind of reminds me of it. It's called Via Cava, and it's this network of roads over. They cover over many different countries in Europe, and they're basically roads that have been hewn out of the rock. So, I mean, if you look at this, you will think that this is like maybe just a natural crevice, but no, these have been hewn. These rocks have been cut to allow this passage. Sometimes the road cuts are up to like, what is it? I think they said like 25 meters. So that's like 75 feet or so in some places. In other places, they're just knee high. There is a really weird system of roads. They said there's actually more of these Via Cava roads than there are actual regular car roads in many of these countries, where the population supposedly during this time was very low. Now they're saying that in some places they're saying that these are Etruscan roads built by the Etruscans. Other places are calling them Roman roads. The problem is that these same roads are in many countries, and each country is crediting a different group. Like the Etruscans supposedly did not exist in every country that these roads exist. And there's a lot of argument about whether the Romans would build roads like this, because they're weird in that they have all different depths. Some of them are so wide that, at least in this timeline, they were actually paved as car roads. So you'll see these hewn out rock walls, and then the car roads will be here because that's how wide they are. So they've been like repurposed, basically. They'll just throw down some asphalt and boom, road. And then the same roads that are super wide will then narrow down in places to be like you almost have to hold your breath to get through. And then there's other weird things about them. They have a lot of variation. Let's see, I think there was some in here I wanted to find too. Some of them have like this weird cut down the middle, and you might think that it is for maybe drainage, but sometimes it'll have a bunch of cuts and they'll all be just kind of mixing together like they're just muddy tracks. But this is stone here. So why would you not just cut one nice clean track? And then see, some have nothing. It's just flat. Now, some of these are great for walking, but some of them completely suck for walking because some of them have these system of shelves here, and it's super slippery, and they're terrible for walking. But yet, they don't really make like any sense for driving because a lot of them are really narrow, and like they narrow down so tiny, like you saw already, that you couldn't get any vehicle through there. So why make them sucky for walking and suck for vehicles? I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, you could argue, well, maybe they just put this one down and then they cover it with planks or something. But then you have places where there's a whole bunch of those or none of those, or and this is the one I want to say. Sometimes it has steps, even though that's not like particularly steep. They'll just have steps. So if it's for a vehicle, why have steps? Some of them have sort of steps on one side and nothing on the other. That one has the one down the middle again. Some of them have like the cutout way on the side. Some have two cutouts. I saw one that had a cutout way out the side and then one in the middle. Some of them have, like I said, these system of shelving. So, here's the footstep ones. Now, some of them weirdly have these punched out spots that look like they're for putting footsteps or something. You can put, and sometimes if you're going down a hill, it's convenient to be able to put your foot in there, but they'll have those even when it's not that steep. So what's up with that? I mean, why would you? So they're saying you could go and there'll be like a regular cutout slit in here, and then it'll suddenly change to footsteps. And then there'll be regular stairs, and then it'll get really narrow, and then it'll get really wide. It makes no sense. A lot of these they're kind of sideways, so it's hard to walk on some of these. There's those. Some of these are really high. I know, so this whole Via Cava thing, it's weird. So they're saying also that these Via Cava open out onto fields that just have these ruts all rutted into the stone in the fields too. And they can't see any purpose, like there's tracks or something. The other weird thing about them is, here's another example. This one's got different, it's pretty smooth on the left, and then there's a track in the middle that has steps, and then a different steps here, and then it has the shoulder up here. Some of them have shoulders on one side or the other, but not always on both. So, I mean, like, why would you cut it like that? It just doesn't make any sense at all. There's also a lot of these places, they're just off the road or even cut right in here. They have giant cutout rooms and stuff so you could sleep in there or something. It's like kind of protected areas. So there's a lot. See, like, what's up with this one? There's the shelf here. This is too sideways. There's no good walking space in here. So what's up with that? There's another one that has the shelf on the left. I think I saw one of the rooms on that one. All right, there's one of the cutout rooms. There's another one. So sometimes these snake around weirdly too. Like, they're not always like super logical roads. More cutouts. There's apparently quite a lot of rooms. There's some places there's like 20 or 30 cutout rooms in the cliffs. Some places they're real thin like this. All right, that one has more like steps. This one's got a couple of the cutouts. It's all full of leaves. Anyway, this story has really changed a lot. Here, smooth on one side, steps, smooth, shelf over here. You're trying to figure out, you know, why they did what they did. It just doesn't make a great deal of sense. You know, I saw this on a channel called New Earth. I think it's, let me see if I can find that channel. Let me start a new YouTube over here. YouTube. Six years later, New Earth. This is the channel here. There's a whole series on these Via Cava on New Earth. See if I can find it. Anywhere, somewhere in here. Oh, I think this is one of them. This is part 2. Ancient roads in which no vehicle fits. That was one of them. I actually haven't seen the first one yet. I have to dig that one out. But it's there's a lot of different footage of the Via Cava in there. So if you're interested in that, I definitely check out that channel. So I'm really curious to see how this develops with these Via Cava. I mean, look, there's no good place to walk on there. That all sucks. And then some of them are great. And a lot of these, you're like, wouldn't it just be easier to go around like this rock, just go around the side than instead of cutting out 25 feet of rock? Look, a lot of them have these weird shelves on the side too. So apparently there's thousands and thousands and thousands of miles. Look, okay, you've got this down the middle. You've got this channel here and then steps over there. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. I spent a lot of time looking through this one, just trying to figure out what's up with that. Okay, well, anyway, I could go on forever and ever because this one's really interesting. And there are a lot of these houses in there. I mean, that much rock burrowing just could not have been easy, at least if we assume traditional methods. All right, this thing has not updated at all. Unless you guys didn't talk for 5 minutes. Let's see, now the whole thing is down. No window. Right, I'm going to continue talking because I can't get that up. See, maybe here. Ah, there it is. Oh, guys, you guys are talking quick now. They said that a lot of the rock is tufa, so it is fairly soft, but still. I mean, still, if you have a giant rock right there, wouldn't you just go around it? And the thing is, some of the burrowing the rock is really serpentine too, so that just wastes even more time. It was. I mean, it would make sense if it was easy to cut these, you know, but it doesn't make sense the way they did it if it was hard to cut it, and that's what's weird about it. Won't they ruin the highway? Yeah, if they pave over it, yeah, they ruin the bottom part as a architectural relic, but apparently they, I don't know, didn't care, or they did it a long time ago, or, I mean, they didn't really, supposedly, the story is that a lot of the people who drive on the road don't even realize that it's an ancient road. They just assume that the government cut that out. And since the ground has been paved over, it looks like a modern road. Eva, do you have frogs in the background outside because croaking? Yes, we have frogs. The last 2 years, we put out buckets of water for them, and the end result is that we have a lot of frogs. And now they all croak in concert and then stop in concert too, which is an Emmy I've mentioned a number of times. Used to be that frogs would just croak whenever they felt like it, but they now croak in concert, and then they're silent in concert. At least my local frogs. And they're the same little native frogs too. There's been some other changes in those, though. They say now that our native frogs can change colors on demand, like a chameleon would. That's also an Emmy. They were just boring old frogs before. If you have buffering, sometimes if you reload, that'll work. The other thing you can do is pick a lower quality of stream, and that often helps quite a bit. Mud-flood roads. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, why put in these roads if there's mud floods? I don't know. It just seemed like a heck of a lot of work. I mean, in the United States, they would just walk around. And then the way they cut the channels, especially the footstep channels, it's just really weird. If they're trying to put in a channel to drain water, then why make it like that? And they're all just about the size of 1 foot, too. So, I don't know. And if the footstep channels are so great, then why did they then switch to other channels and then to steps and then to this? There's not really any rhyme or reason to it. It's not like every time a certain situation is encountered, you will get, like, say every time it's steep, it would be steps. Nope. Sometimes it's steep and no steps. Sometimes there's steps and it's not steep. Just there's no real logic that I've seen to it so far. Multiple small tracks are kind of for carriages. Yeah, but you'll have those small tracks and then suddenly they'll end. So if you were running your carriage down, now you've got no tracks suddenly, and then the whole thing narrows to be 2 foot wide, and then it widens out again, and then now for the widening and narrowing, some people were saying maybe it was to control like armies, so that armies could not easily pass through all abreast. So maybe you could throw rocks down or attack them as they were all strung out. But like the steps and stuff, they don't have an explanation for that. Some kind of electromagnetic power through the stone. Yeah, the problem is that some places are super narrow, just like 2 feet all of a sudden. That is so. Yes, it's all stone. It's tufa, so it's not a real hard stone, but still. Maybe mining those pools would catch gold. No, I don't think so, because there's no gold in tufa. This is a wrong rock. There's certain kinds of rock you look for, quartz and certain mineralizations, and absolutely not in tufa. So no, don't think so. Nope, not water erosion. They're actually hewn. You can see where humans have carved them out, and they've carved out the caves. The caves are like super square, very artificial shapes. So yeah, they're definitely man-made. Hobbit houses. Yeah, some of the doors were very small. Now I don't know, maybe they're just trying to keep the heat in, so you duck under, and then maybe you would just, cover the entrance, so you don't want a big entrance. Tremendous ancient architecture appearing in rocks. Yeah, there's all kinds of really neat architecture showing up in as I shift. There's a lot of really neat weird stuff in Soviet Union now, and there was just nothing in Soviet Union before. My fridge was just really loud. It just distracted me. A couple of years ago, my fridge just like kind of went crazy, and the ice machine started throwing ice out on the ground. And by itself, which you can imagine is extremely creepy when you're by yourself and all of a sudden your ice machine goes insane. So ever since then, I don't quite trust the refrigerator. We swapped out the ice machine unit to a different one, but I'll never trust the fridge again. It was like it was demon possessed. Maybe it was mining, and those are some kind of cart trail. Well, you would think that, but then first the cutout is here, then it's over here, and then sometimes they go like that, and then they switch to the footprint ones. So what kind of cart would I mean, if it was for carts, it should be the same the whole way, and that's what's weird about it. And like I said, it's tufa, so you're not going to find any good stuff in tufa. It's totally devoid of any useful material. Okay, so anyways, just real interesting. Via Cava. I can just spend a lot of time looking at those. A lot. Here's one with multiple tracks. As you can see, then there's like they didn't talk at all about what they think was used to cut these out. But Etruscan, that would be really old if they're blaming it on Etruscans. Look at the patterns of the. I mean, what cart would fit on all those? It's like I can't stop talking about these things. And then they're saying that, a lot of these were covered by mud and leaves, and so they still remain to be found. There's way more of them than anybody ever knew, that kind of thing. So this is another example of stuff coming out of the ground and out of the woodwork. All right. I could talk about those forever. Okay, this one came from somebody on Redcon. It's kind of a joke, but this is a real cow apparently with these weird colors. And the user who found it on Retcon is named I Am Interesting Please. And this is another one from I Am Interesting Please. I've never heard of this, Ruby Falls. It's 44 meters long falls, which is 145 feet. It's underground. It's 341 meters underground. So that's over 1,000 feet underground from the top that you can get down to this. I've never heard of this Ruby's Falls thing. Oh, wait, it's here. There's some people down there. There's a lot of, I don't know if they put colored lights up, but there are a lot of images of it being ruby colored. But it looks like they're just lighting it weirdly. I'm just wondering if eventually it'll actually turn colors, though. Just the way this timeline is so weird. See, and that looks like it's outside, so I don't know. And I don't think that's the Ruby Falls, but I mean, truly majestic and one of a kind. It's in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I don't know if you guys, locals, have ever heard of it. There's another image of it. All right, so yeah, weird. Never heard of it. And so I Am Interesting Please, also found that one. All right, now I think this was Data Junkie was just talking about these Tamilok. Now, I have had these shipworms on my channel before. Basically, now they're saying that these giant worms that live and eat holes in ships. I mean, they're huge. This is a pretty big one, but they can get a foot long or even 5 feet long. And so in this timeline, they were a huge problem because they would burrow into ships and then weaken the ships. My timeline did not have these shipworms. So they could actually destroy a ship if you got enough of these shipworms in there. The storyline now is that shipworms kind of went away with pollution because the pollution killed them. So as humans polluted the waters, we had less shipworms. And that's why you haven't really heard about them. But now that we have protected areas and some of the pollution is lessening, they're coming back and attacking the ships again. Okay, so I had looked into this not super long ago, maybe like a year ago. And that whole story about the pollution was not there. I do remember these images. So they live in these tube things that they create themselves. And so he's pulling these out. So there it is. Now, supposedly this type can get 5 feet long. So that you could see could really damage a ship. And it's got these like clapper teeth on the end here. Okay, so now this is something that totally was not in my timeline when I checked a year ago. But apparently these are now a delicacy that is eaten in the Philippines called Tamilok. And they look in the mangroves for dead wood that is submerged, and you can find these things in there, and they eat them. All right, so they talk a little bit about there, but here's what's another weird thing. This particular big oogie one that they're eating in the Philippines. Now, there's a whole story here that they were believed extinct, and then one guy found one. That's where I was at like a year ago, and then one guy found one. But now it's a case of, and then they found out they were a delicacy and eaten in several places in Philippines, and the Filipinos had known about them the whole time, and blah, 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 blah. And that was a while ago. It wasn't just last year, according to this story. But here's another weird thing. Okay, so this particular Oogie Big guy, they don't eat wood. Now, they're saying that what I read about all the shipworms is that they would eat the wood and then they would have bacteria in their gut that would digest the cellulose and help digest it and break it down, kind of like how termites do. And that sounds like a plausible story because we've all heard termites can do that. Well, now the story is these big oogie ones, they don't even eat wood. They don't eat rotten wood. They don't eat any wood at all. Instead, the shipworm does not eat. They rely on a beneficial symbiotic bacteria living in its gills. The bacteria use the hydrogen sulfide as energy to produce organic carbons that feed the shipworms. The process is similar to the green plant's photosynthesis to convert carbon dioxide in the air into simple carbon compounds during photosynthesis. Scientists found that K. polythalamia, which is those big oogie ones, cooperates with different bacteria than other shipworms, which could be the reason why it evolved from consuming rotten wood to living on hydrogen sulfide in the mud. The internal organs of the shipworm have shrunk from lack of use over the course of its evolution. All right, so now this is kind of huge because in my old timeline, they used to say that for a long time that they couldn't imagine a life system that wasn't based on photosynthesis and plants, which is what we have mostly now. You've got photosynthesis that feeds the plants, and then the animals eat the plants. And basically, all the life force comes from that photosynthesis. Then, when was that they found the black smokers? I actually should check that to see when they found those. I'm wondering, because they did find the black smokers in my lifetime. Actually, let me just check that. I bet you they found it millions of, like 100 years ago now or something. Hydrothermal vents. They used to call them black smokers the most. Let's see. Now, those were found in my timeline. I'm guessing maybe it was around the 90s. And it was a big deal because it was the first system that was not dependent on photosynthesis. It was dependent on this thermal energy here from underground. Discovery and exploration. Let's just see when they say. 1949 Deepwater Survey reported anomalous hot brines. '76, first evidence of the vents. Ooh, on the Pleiades 2 expedition. That's funny. We were just talking about that. Chemosynthetic ecosystems were observed in 1977. All right, it was definitely not 1977 for me, although that's not as far back as I kind of expected the Emmy to have pushed it. It was later than 77 for me, definitely later than 77. But that's when they're claiming now to have discovered the... So anyway, so my point, though, as I meander all over the universe, is that this would have been huge if there's these shipworms that were known the whole time to have fed on, what is this, hydrogen sulfide in the mud. Because that's not, I mean, as far as I know, isn't that just a natural stuff? It's not anything to do with, photosynthesis. The rotten egg smelling odor that's produced, as organic material. Okay, maybe it is organic materials. How is H2S formed? Decaying organic matter. Okay, all right, so, all right, that makes a little bit of sense then. I still just think it's really weird, though. I have not heard of anything living, nothing like 5 feet long living off of hydrogen sulfide. I just think that we would have heard about that. It doesn't even eat the wood. It just lives off of hydrogen sulfide. And also, this was not here a year ago when I looked into this. And that all of its organs had shrunk. That's actually pretty impressive if you just have a gill with some bacteria on it and you can grow 5 feet long on it. So anyways, that whole eaten as a delicacy thing and whatnot, that's all new for me. All right, where are we? Oh, I think that's it for the stuff I had saved. Why would anyone want to eat one? I don't know. Lots of things are gross looking. Oysters. Supposedly they taste slightly like oysters. Only barnacles. Exactly. Barnacles were the big problem of the ships. You had to blast off the barnacles. There were no worms living inside the wood. Anyway, I did cover shipworms in the past, but I guess it bears going over. Also check out Oput, the Cave of the Lost Sea in Sweetwater, Tennessee. Oput, Cave of the Lost Sea, Sweetwater. I think I saw this one about 5 years ago. There's just like a giant bunch of water in there. Oh, they've got sharks now. Oh, it's fish. Anyway, a lot of neat underground stuff these days. Deep inside a mountain near Sweetwater in East Tennessee is a remarkable body is part of an extensive and historic cave system called Craighead Caverns. Yep, definitely cool. I did see that one some time ago. Tamilok. All right, let me check it out to make sure Tamilok is the gross shipworms. According to Wiki, it was those big ones. And that big one was said to be found in the Philippines. Behold the tasty Tamilok, also called the woodworm. It's not really a worm. It's a shell-less saltwater clam that bores holes into wood. They're also called naval shipworms from a legend that the wooden hulls of ships were once their go-to meal. Now, I would not call this a legend because they're saying they found ships that were sank due to shipworms and the weakening of the hull. In the Philippines, Tamilok live among rotting mangroves. Blah, blah. So they're the foot-long, slimy gray creatures possess the classic features of a delicacy. It's a pain to find, only found in a few countries, and is often eaten raw. Anyway, it's definitely a shipworm. Wikipedia says that the Tamilok are that big icky one. But I did not find I didn't find the scientific name anywhere else. Found in many parts of Palawan and Aklan. So obviously they're not always going to find those big ones. That's some other weird stuff they found. All right. Oh, I don't know. All I can say is that the Tamilok is for sure a shipworm. Every place mentions they're called shipworms. So in Wiki it says that the Tamilok is this Kufus polythalamia, which was expected to be, supposedly it was thought to be extinct until they found out that the Filipinos were eating it. That's the storyline on this polythalamia one right now. So the story gets even more ridiculous. First they didn't exist, then they were small, then they were huge, now they are food. Yeah. That big one was something that they just found, and now, oh, they've been eating them this whole time. Tons of toxic animals here. Like, if you see a hurt bird, don't touch it, because if it eats Spanish flies, it emits the same toxin as those deadly toads. Oh, interesting. Birds eat Spanish flies. Swallowtail kite overview. Emit toxic. I probably just don't have the right word for those. But yes, there are so many animals now that can eat toxic foods and then they can sequester the poison and then reuse it. It's just gotten crazy how many birds can do that. Scott Balo, yeah, I've had some videos on about the length of time that the muscles still function now in so many animals. There was one, it had been filleted and was even in the oven and it was bouncing around. It was already breaded and everything. It was just ridiculous. The spur-winged goose is classified as toxic. Spur-winged goose. Oop, no, that's not the word there. Oh, it kind of knew what I wanted anyway, though. Death by toxic goose. All right, I'll click on that. Amazing waterfowl facts part 2. One of the most dangerous birds in the world, I'm not kidding here, is the African spur-winged goose. Members of the species can sometimes be poisonous if they feed on a poisonous beetle, member of the blister beetle group, and then sequester the beetle's poison into their own tissues. Small amounts cause death in humans. The effect of Cantharidin on the urinary tract means that people have been using it as an aphrodisiac. The Spanish fly is a blister beetle, so the results of blister beetle ingestion by spur-winged geese is that their flesh is toxic. Eating one can apparently result in death. All right. Well, the poisonous tissues of several passerines, notably the various pituis, Ilfrida, rufous shrike thrush. They aren't alone, and several other birds are also known to sequester toxins. I think I covered the pitui a while back. Quail can be toxic. We talked about that recently, but only certain populations. That one was a weird one because everybody eats quail. I've eaten quail. Only on one part of their migratory journey. Yeah, you would think that if there was a toxic quail that we'd be hearing about it. Those flying from West Africa to Europe are toxic. Those going from East Africa to Europe aren't toxic, but are when they return to Africa in the autumn. Being poisoned by quail even has a name, coturnism. There are accounts in the Bible, and it was so common in the Roman Empire that the eating of quails was banned in the 1st century. No, not in my timeline. That's all I have to say. I actually have another creature with toxic sequesters coming up too. So just interestingly enough. Spinal column changes. I covered that a while back. For me, there wasn't all those spines on the back of the column, and the spinal cord went through the center of the discs. So you just had round discs and a hole in the center, and that's where the spinal column went. The spinal cord, I should say, the spinal cord. But now you have the disc, and then you have all those spines, and the spinal cord goes in here, outside the disc, but like kind of hidden inside the spines. So that's one huge change. Another huge change is it's just a wide, the whole column is a lot wider, and at the base, it's grown a lot thicker than it used to be. Okay, so we got that. Okay, this is an extra weird one. We've talked a lot about rainbow. What's that thing there on the thumbnail? I was laughing on this one. The latest excuse to have a rainbow corona. All right, so all this rainbowy business around the sun or any light source. This is the one that I have on my thumbnail here. Apparently, during pollen season, the pollen can make the sun or the moon or any light source look like a rainbow. So that's the latest excuse. So supposedly this thing here is actually an eclipse during pollen season. And so you get both the rainbow from the pollen plus the eclipse. Here's another, I think that's supposed to be the moon during pollen season. This is just a big bunch of horse hockey as far as I'm concerned. But apparently now, I don't know, I guess did the pollen spread over here? But I was just kind of flipping because that channel that I like to watch, Mr. MBB333, just casually showed some of these, and then just casually mentioned that he remembers this is common, fairly common during pollen season. And I've been watching that channel for a while, and I don't remember him ever saying that pollen caused rainbow, what do you call it, corona around anything. So I say baloney. But it's cool looking anyways, but I still say baloney, no. Let's see, they had, I just wanted to mention that the moon has a corona the last few years, a lot of times at night. Pollen or no pollen, it looks a lot like this a lot of the times now. And that's a big ME for me. I just never had that in my old timeline. This red ring around it is very common when there's some clouds like this. And it's very common the last few years, very common. So that's another kind of corona. They're saying more it's like ice crystals and stuff. Lunar corona. Let me just see what they claim is causing that. That looks totally ridiculously fake. I don't know, what's that? It looks like it's being projected. Weather phenomena, lunar corona. I haven't seen that one as much. It's usually that red thing. So they're claiming this is a real image. I'm really suspicious, especially with this projection line here. But I mean, that does not mean that this guy who did this article really knows where every photo came from. So anyway, yes, so pollen corona is what they're calling it right now. I would not be surprised if it got a fancier name later. It seems like that's fairly popular to come out with a more simple sounding name, then kind of crank it up with a whole bunch of names, and it's called this in this country and this, and historically it was called that, and blah 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 blah, comes later. I don't know if that gives it more cachet. There's all these different names through history and everything. Yeah, there's something fishy about the pollen. The pollen's getting, pollen and dust. You know, it started maybe 10 years ago where they started to say these dust storms were hitting the upper atmosphere and traveling across the oceans and stuff. And that was like the start of it. And now all these weird things get up in the atmosphere. They can color the snow. They can color the light. One massive flash of lightning, huge thunderclap, then it started snowing. 30 minutes later, it was sunny. Yeah, getting that weird weather, huh? I've noticed the weather just seems more erratic now. It's cold, it's raining, there's a thunderstorm, and then it's sunny, and then it's hot, and then it's cold again. Pollen. I've seen it outside of pollen season. Well, basically, they're saying the really rainbowy ones are pollen season. But this other one, like this that I see a lot, they're just blaming that on ice crystals. And the ice crystals excuse has been around for some time, but this pollen one is brand spanking new. And you can see there's a ton of rainbow on the pollen ones. All right, so that's the thumbnail. Belinda Brubaker, yeah, you're talking about the West Coast. You know, I'm San Diego, so I may not be that far from you. All right, we got that one. Caterpillars. All right, this one is from Anna Morabito. Commenter on the channel. Okay, so there's a water bug now that eats like a lot of mammals. It's this big. It's supposed to be like 4 inches long. So, no, that's a pretty big bug. It's a pretty ridiculously big bug. All right, so there's this bug, this giant water bug. Here he's eating a fish. Attacks a fish in Saitama, Japan. Giant water bug eats turtles, ducklings, and even snakes. It's a vicious predator, lion weight predator. Everything on the menu. Almost fearless. In 2011, Oba reported the first observation of a giant water bug preying on a turtle. All right, so there's a bug eating a baby turtle. When prey comes within reach, the predators quickly snap their front legs tight and grasp the creature with their other legs. The bugs then pierce their prey with dagger-like proboscis, injecting enzymes and possibly anesthetic chemicals. It's not clear what exactly makes up water bug toxins and if they're truly venomous. Giant water bugs are unusual amongst insects in that the males take on the bulk of responsibility in caring for eggs. Males guard egg clutches. Other females glue their eggs directly onto the males' backs, and the males tote them around until they hatch. In some species, females are so keen to find a mate they will even eat other females' eggs. This whole kind of infanticide thing is just really big in this timeline. I showed, it was a week or two ago, the zebras killing the offspring of like baby zebras in order so they could mate again. It started out with the lions. It was originally only the male lions who did that. And way back, even the male lions didn't do that. I think that showed up about 10 years ago. But now we're seeing more and more animals like that. By destroying the eggs of her competitor, a female can obtain the mating partner of the competitor and make certain that the male takes care of her eggs instead. Yeah, this is just spreading everywhere. Anyway, so a lot of these new bugs are just these new animals. They just have some kind of weird, creepy thing. So yeah, apparently they're very vague about it, but these water bugs are injecting something that's kind of incapacitating their prey animals. Now you would think then that wouldn't have humans gotten bit a few times? I mean, these are big bugs. They're in the water. Humans slosh around the water. There should be humans getting bit by these things. I was watching a chimp infanticide video. Ooh, so the chimps are doing it now too, huh? I think I do remember them saying recently that some troops will chase down invading troops and try to kill and eat the neighbors. Now, back when I was younger, chimps were kind of touted as the example of peaceful ape that humans should learn from. They were vegetarian, they were quite peaceful, but now they're like cannibals and they eat meat and they eat their own kind. And suddenly you don't hear any more talk about how peaceful and kind the chimps are because of they're not that way anymore. How long does it take to change the siding of an entire house? In my experience, it usually takes more than a day. It takes a while to tear it off and put it back on. I have not seen it ever happen within a day. I've seen so many weird changes. In old buildings suddenly have new, like fancy little bits on them. That one seems to be quite common. More fancier bits, and like there's this one big movie theater that just had a couple fancy turrets at the top. Now it's got more of the turrets, and then there's a second fancy bit at the bottom of the turrets, and then there's just a lot of little additions like that. That building's been there like for 15 years, so I don't think they snuck up there and put new parts on it. I've seen a lube station sign change from yellow to white. Now it's back to yellow. Yeah, you know, there's a couple of the off-brand gas stations. It'll be this old, it'll have some weird name, and then the next time I'll drive by, it'll be a different name. So you think, oh, well, it's switched hands. But, I mean, I drive by there so often, and it's completely different within like 1 or 2 days. There's no under new ownership sign. The sign that's up there does not look brand spanking new. All the colors and the entire thing are different. I just don't think they could do that much change in one day. And the sign should be all new and shiny if they just put it up. Okay, so where are we here? Via Cava, I think I got that page done. All right. House cats. Let's talk about house cats. What is the scientific name for house cats? Do any of you guys know the scientific name for house cats? The first is Felis, okay, Felis. What's the second word behind Felis for house cats? Belinda Brubaker, no, I experienced a house totally changing colors and back later in the afternoon. I believe you, and you know why? Because I have seen stuff like that. And this was before I knew about the ME, so I was really confused. I think I've told this story before, but there was a building near my work, and one day I drove past it out to get something, and they were putting it up for lease. They put up for lease signs all in the grass. They had a big crew of gardeners there. They were trimming down all the bushes, trimming it up all beautiful. It was nice and speckled, spotless, trimmed up. It looked like they were almost done. You know, they'd cut, they'd raked. It was looking really nice. And then I went and got my thing. I don't remember what it was it lunch? I don't even remember. But an hour later, I drive back past it, and now it looks like scum again. Like, kept looking at him like, I swear they trimmed that. Well, I was so confused. All of the for lease signs were gone. I was just so confused. I just was like, I must be going crazy, because I swear, they put all the signs and they pulled them all up, and then that part I could see. Okay, they changed their mind and pulled up all the signs, but then I couldn't see how they untrimmed everything. So I was just like, ugh. Something about being tame in Latin. Yes. Yes. Cupie remembers. So we had a birthday party for my sister. My mom started talking about my medical history. I've been to the doctors since I was 10 years old, and she now says that I've been going since I was 8. Felis, houses, catus. Nope, not quite. Well, some of yous are from the current timeline. No is. All right, so the correct answer for this timeline is, in fact, catus. However, in my time, they were Felis domesticus. I'm just going to type that in and see what I get. You can see that I've typed it in before. Felis domesticus, that's what they were. Interestingly, Google knows where to take me if I type in Felis domesticus. I guess they're calling it domestic cat, so... But it was Felis domesticus. What does Felis domesticus mean? Any domesticated member of the genus Felis. Domestic cat, Felis catus, house cat, domestic animal. That's interesting. I was not able to find this anywhere, but I did see it. Now I'm seeing it here. Anyway, the real name is Felis catus. I've never seen Felis catus. I actually, all right, they're calling it a synonym, but basically this catus is taken over. I'm wondering if maybe it's 2 timelines, and catus is basically the timeline that won. You don't have 2 scientific names for domestic house cats. They're not going to be Felis catus and Felis domesticus. There's no way there's 2 scientific names, so this doesn't even make sense. But most places are now saying it's Felis catus. I was laughing my butt off when I saw that because I thought someone was joking. You can't remember something, so you just make it sound Latin by sticking an us on it. Like fatus catus or whatever. I mean, you're just joking. You don't know, so you just put a US on the end. It took me a few times to see it happening repeatedly to realize that that is actually the scientific name now. For me, it was always Felis domesticus. All right, so there was kind of a long and winding road because I saw, this is how I found out about the catus. I saw that my favorite snack food, it is now back to my original, Cheetos. Well, it was my favorite snack food when I was a kid. I was completely addicted to Cheetos. And for a while it had an H on there. So this is a flip-flop for me. Not long ago, it had an H. And we were discussing it. And I was like, I don't remember that H. I remember it being... Get rid of that. I remember it being like this. This is what I remember it. Cheetos. Okay. Yum. I like the puffy version, though. But... so it had an H for a while, and now it doesn't again. Flip-flop for Eva. But I found out that there's actually a cat breed with the H still on them. I just think it's kind of funny. Cheetos did not used to yield a cat breed. Let me see if I can. Cheeto cat. Cat breed's coming out of the woodwork. How much does a Cheeto cat cost? And they still have their H. The average price for a quality marked registered Cheeto is $800. So apparently this is, that new thing where, so it's a Bengal Aussie cat mix. It's supposed to have really good spots and stuff. And they call him Cheeto. Cheeto versus Bengal, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's an ME, but I just don't remember that last time I was looking up Cheeto. Then I saw where they started talking about the Felis catus, and I about laughed my head off. Oh, I just wanted to mention this other thing that last time I was talking about that car that changed it. I could not remember what it was. And then, of course, right after I shut the stream off, I immediately forgot. Or I immediately remembered. It was Alfa Romeo. It's now Alfa Romeo, but I remember it being Alfa Romero. Romero. When I was a kid, and this is a very old ME for me because I think it was like 80s when it changed. It was Alfa Romero, my whole childhood, Alfa Romero, and then I started hearing it Alfa Romeo. My mother was still calling it Alfa Romero. Other people were still calling it that. And I mentioned this somewhere, and several other people also remembered it as Alfa Romero. But like I said, very old ME. It's been Romeo a long time. I actually, when I first heard of Alfa Romeo, I thought it was like a slightly different model. They changed the names. And they had two kinds. This was a newer one. I assume the Romero was still around, but no, it never existed now. Alfa Romero for myself. Yeah, there is no such thing as Alfa Romero. Well, you know, I'll double check, but I checked this one about a year ago, actually. Alfa Romero. Let me see if anybody remembers Alfa Romero. Alfa Romeo. I'm not finding anything. Romeo. This one is so old, I think all the residual has floated off as well. Yeah, there's nothing coming up. Let me see. Did Wiki even let me see. Search instead for Alfa Romero. Let's do this. Alfa Romero versus Alfa Romeo. Mandela Effect. Okay. Thanks to Moneybag73. Oh, so he had it on. I remember Romero, but it's now Romeo. I did not know that Moneybags had that on. That's interesting. Okay, so not just me. Alfa Romero is the multifaceted duo comprised of Prudo and Lorenzo Bartoletti. Interesting. So that's some kind of a song. Alfa Romero used cars. All right, it looks like it's mostly just a song now, though. Interesting. Dark Wolf's Den remembers when it gained the H. Yep. Yeah, I just saw it mentioned somewhere. I think it was just on some advertisement. I'm like, oh, the H is gone again. That's when I found the Cheetos cat with the H. Then I found out that it's Felis catus now. Catus. I have never heard of that. Felis catus. I mean, that's something we would just joke about. We like to use funny words for our pets, so we'd be like, where is the Felis domesticus? You know, where is the Prince of Stinky? Or, you know, we just have a million nicknames like that. A whole species changed name in such a short time. You know what I think it is let me look that up. There was something I was thinking about. I'm trying to remember. Felis catus. Only domesticated species in the family Felidae, and often referred to as domestic cat, to distinguish it from wild members of family. I'm trying to remember what I was thinking of when I had some kind of idea that it had to do with all the new kinds of cats that are popping up. There's so many new little cute little kittens. Like, they look like little kittens, but they're a whole species. So I'm thinking that maybe I'm just thinking that maybe they needed to differentiate more clearly. Also, Think about the word domesticus. Are we going to get some other domesticated cats? And so now domesticus won't be specific enough. I mean, if there's like 5 different kinds of wild cat that are domesticated, then Felis domesticus would not make logical sense, because which one are you talking about? So I was thinking maybe that's why this had to change. We're just getting more and more friendly species now that don't bite humans, including the snow leopard. Apparently does not bite humans. That's a big kitty too. So I don't know. That was just one of my theories of maybe why that had to change. Shartikon now remembers Romero. I wonder when you remember that change, because it's a really old change for me. For a little while, it picked up an H. Yep. Cheetos did. Yep, like Porsche and Porsche. Yes, that it has that S now on Porsche, and it did not have that for me. I'm pretty sure it still has the S, right? Porsche. This is my Porsche here. Porsche, yes. That one I think was kind of recently. Didn't we just recently discuss that Porsche? There should not be an S on there. It looks dumb. Build your Porsche. That just looks really wrong. Just really wrong. Alfa Romero no longer exists. I've had a few beers, so help me out, folks. Correct. Alfa Romero does not exist. It never existed. It's Alfa Romeo now. It has no R. Since like the 90s for me, actually. I was really confused for a while. I thought that they had just changed the name, basically. The has jumped out at me. Are you talking about Haas versus has, avos? Yeah, I've noticed everybody has, in the last year, completely figured out that it's HASS avocados now. Very rapidly. Tape on your mouth. Yeah, for me, Porsche did not have an S. Apparently, a lot of other people. Porsche. Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I do remember them always calling him Porsche. But it didn't have an S, but they would call it Porsche. Now they're saying it's a pronunciation in certain countries, but that was California that they said Porsche. Looks like we're not long for a small house cat. They always said they could not get any smaller. Oh, I'm sure we'll get some stuff. I mean, some of the other mutations are way weirder than just smallness. Just a girl remembers Porsche. Yep, with no S. Do you remember avocado with an L? No, I do not remember avocado. It's always been avocado for me. I've noticed has to Haas, too. It's like, yeah, and it sounds different, too. It's like pass, has. Yeah, you know, I live in avocado country. I have orchards on 2 sides of me. It was freaking Haas. We even... you know, we get them from our neighbors. We tried to grow one, but they need a lot of water, so it didn't make it. One day we will learn it was BWM, not even kidding. You know, nothing would really surprise me. Some of this stuff is even weirder. Sign me up for little cats. I want me a big, big cat. I'm waiting. Maybe in 15 years, there'll be a bunch of snow leopard cats, pet cats. I bet you. John Chanty Moody does not remember catus. Yeah, it's weird because I guess the domesticus is a synonym. I was not able to find any storyline about them officially changing it. It was always just domesticus. There would be no reason to change it. There's still a Felis breed, so it's not like they put them in another grouping or anything. There been any Emmys of the body? Seems like something's always changing. I haven't seen anything that really jumps out at me. You know, there's little incremental changes in the hips and stuff, but it's hard to put your finger on it when it's just, you know, oh, now it's this much bigger. And domesticated snow leopard. No, you know, I think we will get domesticated snow leopards, because there are so many rumors going around about how they never bite humans and they never scratch humans. And there's even a video where they have a wild snow leopard in a cage, and it's a healthy adult, and it escapes the cage on top of this building, and it tries to make a getaway, but it can't get away because there's no place for it to run. It's trapped on the top of this building. It tries to climb up this wall, and the two humans just have nothing but a big blanket. And they run over there, and they pounce on this snow leopard, and they tackle it, and they drag it back to the cage. Well, that snow leopard could kick their butt. I mean, it could bite and scratch the crap out of them. I mean, they can take down a giant, sheep like 4 times bigger than them. Humans would be easy as pie, but at no point does that snow leopard bite nor scratch. It just struggles. I mean, a house cat would be more dangerous. They could kick your butt. So there's all these stories now that they will always just run away. They'll never fight humans, all this stuff. So, and now you're starting to see a lot of pet snow leopards in the regions where they are located. And that's this last year. One of these, this one made the rounds on Reddit. Mongolian shepherd with a pet snow leopard. And that's a full adult right there. Look, it's not even on a leash. A lot of people with their pet snow leopards. They're not even on a leash. Pet snow leopard with his owner in Hunza, Mountainous Valley in Gilgit, Baltistan region of Pakistan. That's a cheetah. So anyway, supposedly they're really just the nicest kitties you have ever seen. And the way they talk about them, I mean, these are way nicer than Felis catus. If you have a wild Felis catus and you try to grab it, he will kick your butt next to, you'll be mincemeat. You do not mess with a feral cat, not a Felis catus. But these guys, even the wild ones apparently, are really sweet. So I think that these are being geared up to be the new fantasy of the beautiful cat on a golden leash kind of a thing. In the old days, I would have said, oh, that's horrible, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, to me, it just seems really clear that these things are evolving in concert with humans, that they're kind of co-creating each other. They're like being created to be pets, sort of. When they first came out, they said they were vicious killers, and now they're the sweetest things ever. House cats show no mercy. Now, yeah, when they're feral, they show no mercy. Luckily, my current one, he can keep it together, as best I can tell. He's kind of a newish cat for me, but he came face to face with a, what was that, possum, and I thought they were going to fight, and I grabbed my cat, and he did not kill me. I mean, sometimes when they get all worked up, they'll just claw anything. He hissed real loud, but he kept his crap together, and he didn't even dig in his claws on me. So I was happy about that, because you reach down and grab a really scared cat, you can't be sure how much skin you'll have left after the story. But yeah, he was a good kitty in that incident. He gets crabby, but he doesn't dig his claws in or anything. I have seen those winged cats. Yeah, with those weird growths on their back. First there was just one, now there's a bunch of them. If we get domesticated snow leopards, I want one. See, it's like they're so nice already that they're almost already domesticated even when they're wild. And they're just scared when they're wild is all. I hope there won't be a flip-flop when it becomes wild. You know, there was only like 10 years ago, they said there's only 200 of them in one rare region of the entire world. And now they're in like 5 countries. So I think they're a whole ME for me, their whole existence. I mean, way when I was a kid, there was no snow leopards. They used to be endangered. I think they're just now threatened is the word. Habitat destruction, whatever. The whole habitat of the entire world is being remodeled. Yeah, exactly. Rainbow Mountains, the moon within Earth's atmosphere. Domesticated, like friendly wildcats seems kind of mild in comparison. Yeah, lots of wild animals becoming domesticated. I did not have fennec foxes either. In fact, I did a whole giant thing where I studied the fox breeding program of Russia, and those are the only friendly foxes had been specially bred over many generations, and they were regular foxes. Those are the only friendly foxes at that time. I even looked at, you know, I kind of wanted one, but I know that I don't have the time for it. But I even looked into like who sold them and everything. Have I noticed any new skull changes? You know, it's been more of the same with the cheekbones coming up. I mean, it's hard to really say that there's any specific new holes or anything. I think the, real human skull. Let me just check here. Blah, blah. To me, it's been lately more of a matter of... One thing I did notice, I don't remember this fissure being right here. I do think that this, what did we call this? This divoted out area has gotten bigger. But that's just been a slow process. These fissures look weird to me, though. I mean, they're nothing like they used to be. See here, it's poking out even more. Look at this one poking out wider than the upper skull. It's not anything really specifically different. It's just kind of more of the same. This is interesting. Well, I think that's just broken off, but there's like 2 separate notches up there. See if we see anything else like that. What's that? Look at these lines in here. That looks weird. Oh, look at, there's 2 holes out here too. I don't remember those 2 holes out the side. There was like one there and one there. I don't remember anything out there. What are those lines? That's weird. I think I covered last time the fissures are now, they had enough sutures. They're not fissures anymore. They're cranial sutures. Look at that guy's jaw and cheeks are huge. That's like Lurch from the TV show or something. Look at that dent in there. That's another thing I never used to see. Big dent. We'll have to see if any of this... look, that one has a dent also. Interesting right there. Lines right there. Seems to be a lot of variation in the skulls right now. Kind of a dent right there again. It looks like there's going to be more denting in here. Now, I'm not seeing that second batch of holes on many of these. Keep an eye out, though, because that one seemed to have them. We're going to get another hole up here, or are we not? Look at that one. That one looks so alien. Real human skull with polished metal teeth and custom brass stand. This whole thing like this. Ugh, it looks like an insect head. So are we gonna see more like this, where we have like a weird front pan on the front of our face? See, there's another one. Really getting pronounced up in here. You've got the dent there. I'm not seeing that additional set of holes on any of these others, though. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on that and see how it develops. A lot of these pointy skulls up here, too. They look weird to me. They're not egg-shaped. They're like pointy. Another one with the giant cheekbones and the giant jaw. They're probably going to say that's a certain race, but I mean, look at that. Look at that. Okay, that's the elongated skull. That's why it's so narrow there. Still. Okay, so not really. Look at that's getting that triangle head again. Okay, anyway. Cupid, yeah, all those, but they're like older ones. I'm just talking about brand new ones. Bones in the back of the eyeball, yep. Has anyone else been bothered by sinuses? I'm the reverse. You know, I had that flu. I've had a bunch of flus. One thing I've really noticed is that my sinuses really don't get clogged much now. I mean, I got the worst flu in my life, and one side would get partially clogged and it'd feel a little slow, but they weren't totally clogged. And I've had many of flus in the past where they would get clogged. So no clogging here. That's different. And you look up in there, there's way more space up in there. So anybody hear of ailments that have disappeared? I got rid of my asthma a while back, and it probably corresponded around 2012. Now, I thought it was because I gave up wheat, and really it happened, started happening the first day I gave up wheat. But now I've been munching on a fair lot of wheat lately, and I haven't had any problems. So, I don't know. I mean, it's a whole new body compared to back then. Shiva's back to 4 arms, but still a dude. Okay, Data Junkie, for me, it was 6 arms. 6 arms cut down to 4 arms. All right, where are we now? Okay. Oh, this one. This one's another one of these goofy things. Oh, gosh. You just can't make this stuff up. You really just can't make this stuff up. So apparently, there was the big mystery of the exploding toads. Why do toads explode? Let's see what answer they gave. All right, so there was these exploding toads in Germany, I guess. And nobody could figure out why they were exploding. So finally, they found out that these toads are poisonous, so nobody could eat them. But then, apparently, the crows figured out how to peck out their liver, only their liver, and that their liver was not poisonous. Now, I don't really get how they can peck past the poisonous flesh and still get that liver out. But so they were pecking the liver out, and I guess the toad didn't really realize now that he was missing a liver, and he would try to expand and make his... I guess they try to expand and look bigger when they're threatened. And they were saying there were no bite or scratch marks, so we knew the toads weren't being attacked by a raccoon or rat, which would have eaten the entire toad. It was clearly the work of crows. So apparently the toad would then puff itself up defensively, and since it was, this is kind of confusing. Since it doesn't have a diaphragm or ribs, without the liver, there is nothing to hold the rest of its organs in. The lungs stretched out of all proportion, and the rest of the organs simply explode out of the hole. So the whole thing is just weird that crows would somehow figure out how to just peck out livers, that this would cause toads to explode. They exploded mostly during their mating season. I guess they puff out more during that time. Anyway, just weird. Everyone says Shiva is male now. Yeah, kind of male, but then I do see some places where they say that Shiva is both male and female. Shiva was female for me. She had big boobs. The original one had 6 arms. Then it was 4 arms in a male, but man, then that face has been changing too. So it kind of looks almost more male now than it has in a while. Shiva at CERN. Take a little look at Shiva, see what, I still want to say she, but he, I think, is the correct answer. The face has gotten really fat lately. Little Miss Shiva. It's definitely looking more male. Maybe that's part of the shifting. The face is fatter. It was more feminine and beautiful, even as a male, like last year. It looks, it was like a feminine male. Now it's kind of a fatter-faced male. So it's looking more male, basically. The face almost looks too big on the head. There's not much neck. It was more elegant looking like last year. Yeah, see, the face is just fat now. The femur neck. I've covered a lot of the changes in here. Let me just see what we're talking about here. Femur. Down on the legs, you've got a lot of changes where the hip is. And all the long bones, the ends of them have changed to me. Oh, you're talking about this thing? Yeah. That bone used to be more even, and it would just fit. The hips used to make like kind of a cradle, and the bone would just fit in there. And then it was like muscles and tendons would kind of hold it in place. It was actually a terrible system. I always used to look at it and go, really? That just looks so difficult. But now it's more like a machine. You've got this ball and socket, and it just fits right in there. So I think that's why the femur, this has gotten longer and longer. This is interesting. They have these 3 here. Designations of abnormal femur angles. Okay. So 2 of those are not good. Normal. All right. Yeah, but yeah, all the edges of all the long bones have changed, and even on the animals, like I've mentioned before, I do sell like little animal bone parts drilled and stuff, and where I used to drill the hole, now I can't drill it there sometimes because the ends have changed, and it's kind of made a mess because it's like I don't think I would have chosen to drill the hole there now because now it's a stupid place. Should I redo all my photos or what? I don't know. It's kind of an ongoing mess with the ME when it comes to all those parts. I guess in a way it really helps me see all the changes though, because you pull something out, you think it's defective or broken, and then you look and they're all like that now. In my timeline, Shiva was a she or going towards androgynous. You know, in my timeline, she had big boobs and she was totally female. It was like a total sex symbol thing. Now there's another character that kind of has that. But that used to be Shiva. There's now a pulse in the sutures of the head. She hypothesized that the third pulse, which averaged 8 cycles per minute, was the craniosacral rhythm. Oh, yeah, I covered that pulse in the head for babies. I didn't cover it for humans. I mean for adults. So is there one for adults now? Is that the deal? I remember a pic of a blue female Shiva with 6 arms and a red pointy tongue. Not sure about that tongue part, but yeah, she was blue. She had all the arms, at least 6, sometimes more, and she had big boobs. She was a total sex symbol kind of thing. But for me, she was the one with all the arms. Now there's another character that has all the arms. Okay, where am I here? All right, this one is another kind of weird one. I know that this gecko did not exist before. The fish-scaled gecko, it's got these giant scales, and then it can lose the scales. If something attacks it, it sheds off all its scales. But then when it sheds off all its scales, so this one has missing all its scales here. It's like a nude rat. I've never seen a lizard. So this is supposed to be a lizard. It's a gecko. But now it just looks like a rat without the scales all shedded off. I've never seen any kind of a lizard or snake or anything that would have normal skin like that. They always had that lizardy skin. So this guy, though, he just sheds off all his scales, and then he looks like that. And supposedly then he'll hide for 2 weeks and regenerate all his giant scales again, which is actually pretty fast when you think about it, 2 weeks. So that's a fish scale geckos. Perceive a threat, they resort to shedding off their scales. So this guy's got some scales off. So supposedly it doesn't really hurt them too much. The scales are designed to come off, but then they do have to put the effort of regenerating them. So pretty weird. So basically you've got this gecko now that looks like a little rat. I remember Callie being female. No, Callie was male for me. Callie was male and Shiva was female. I'm just going to look up this sutures in the head thing. Pulse in sutures of head. It kind of makes sense. It started out babies. Yeah, see, it was in the fontanelle, the open area. There's multiple fontanelles now. That was something I covered the other day. Right, I'm only seeing the pulse in regards to this fontanelle thing, at least so far. Now, I've covered before that I remember them being fissures, but they're now called sutures, and they have a little bit of give now. They were just locked in before. There was one solid skull. So the skull is a little bit more movable now. Someone said Lincoln has a hand carved in Mount Rushmore. Oh, yeah. I know we've covered Mount Rushmore enough times. Lincoln has a hand. Abso-freaking-lutely. It's not even a question now. It's clearly does have a hand. All right, let me find a decent image. Yeah, this is not the world's best image. Let's see. Let me see your little scungy paw. There. This one, it's too small. It's going to be like Murphy's Law. Now I can't find an image that shows the hand. Hey, you can't really see it in there. I'm going to laugh if that hand disappears. All right. We have to get desperate and go to the saved photos that take an hour to load. Ooh, it's burning along today. Okay. Dupe. All right, come on, get loading. This is why I hate to go to my indicator photos. They can be really slow. Come on, you could do it. There. Of course, it doesn't show it good there. Oh, look, his hair is way over to the side. This pointy hair was more like here. Now it's way over there. Look, it's matched up with this little notch now. And this thing. That's interesting. So this lump was way over here, and then this little tiny 2 prongs of hair was about there. So it scooted all the way over to there now. His beard also looks kind of, I don't know, it looks more like a river than a beard. All right, let's see if we can find... Dope. Back. There. All right, there's the hand. There's the lapel. This thing is looking more gun-like than ever, but I cannot find one word on it. The only thing they're saying I've been able to find is they're saying that they never finished carving Lincoln. So maybe this gun-shaped thing is supposed to be excused by the fact that they never finished. But, I mean, this looks like they had something in mind, and it's not mentioned what. So anyway, yeah, there's the hand. Any change with the Christ Redeemer? You know, I just didn't know the Christ Redeemer that well, so I have not tried to follow that one. Last time we talked, we were wondering if it was going to be a gun. There's more shadow right here than last time I looked at that image. Also, this top circle, half circle thing is a little bigger than what I recall. The other thing that seems to be kind of changing is this little house on the top here. It really looked like a little tent. Now there's like some dark object over to the side now too. So I was not sure what's going on with that thing. I mean, I'm sure it's just a temporary structure. None of the other photos have it, but who gets to camp on top of Washington's head anyway? Okay, so we got that. I've kind of covered this one. I should have done a little more research on it, but I'm going to just scroll through the indicator photos now that I've got them to come up. Pyramid. That's the back here, and where see how these fingers come forward? That reminds me of how the front used to look. They weren't all bumpy like that, though. There's the current front. The amount of cartilage here seems like it expands, continues to expand, and the bone part is getting less and less. We got Shiva. This guy hasn't changed too much. You know, a lot of these indicator photos that were really changing rapidly now haven't been, and I'm wondering if maybe they're kind of done with what they're going to go, and I need to be looking at other indicator photos. Maybe these things aren't going to continue to change drastically long term. Now, this is one that has changed a lot, but it's like they slow down and other things have popped up, and maybe I should be watching those things for changes now. That toe is a little further out than last time. Is that the end? I think that's the end. That one there hasn't been a lot of changes on that house either. This one's still changing. But again, slower than I remember. This is one, I don't think I've mentioned this, but this gold up here, I don't remember this gold colored cape and this gold up here. It was much more plain. So that's a recent change for me, like maybe the last 3 weeks ago or something I saw that. Oop, and that. Now, last time I looked at this, I swear there was only 3 hats on here. I don't think this guy had one. It's interesting. Looks like there's one more hat on there. I kept thinking this would change, but it does not look like head has changed. It's just stomach. I keep thinking this is going to pinch off, but it hasn't happened. Not yet. Changes on the scratches. That has not changed. There's Shiva with the fat face. Coronado Island. It looks like even this one's going to get cut off now. If this one goes off the edge, it's just growing so quickly. Originally, when I had this image, this whole channel area was contained in it, so it's fallen off the edge now. My foot. This looks like a big mess now. This thing continues to grade. Look at the quality of those pyramids. They're just rubble piles now. The beautiful, careful cut pieces are kind of just not there anymore. Then the story with this mess here is supposedly they put a bunch of plaster under here to hold it up. Now in my whole timeline, it went all the way down to the shoulder region, so you didn't have to plaster it up. It was the original stone. It was a lot nicer than this. The face is a mess now. This thing is looking terrible. The Sphinx looks like crap. All right, no changes to that. I just keep watching this one because this knee has changed so much. I'm wondering if these will straighten out more here. That thing looks weirder every time it's one of those sun bears. All right, anyways, not a lot of major changes, though. I've seen the pictures before they restored the Sphinx. It's totally different than my old timeline. In my false memory, Sacramento was between San Francisco and LA. Yes. Yes, yes. Yes, 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 yes. It was in the middle of the state. Down in the middle. I used to think, Sacramento's kind of a pit, but hey, at least it's in the center of the state, so it can represent the state well. Well, it's not anymore. Although that chunk of land at the top of California, where I don't recognize hardly any of those counties, and it had that giant forest fire, that's all new to me, basically. This last week, there's been a lot of changes in the roads in my town. And there is a block that used to have like 5 buildings on it. And it's surely shrunk down, and now it only has one building, and it's this iconic, ugly building. But that building now has new parking and entrances on the side because the road now is on that side of it. And you know what drives me nuts is I can't remember what was in there before, but I know that that was not a block that consisted of one freaking building. It was a long block before. No more. It looks like they're plucking out pieces of the town. Where the hell is Sacramento? Sacramento is the capital of California. So Californians all know about it, but nobody else gives a rat's butt about Sacramento. That's where all the government types are, politicians and stuff. Yeah, if you're not from California, I mean, you might have memorized the capitals of the states when you were a kid. I don't know if they still do that. But other than that, boy, there's not much space between the heads and the scree pile anymore, is there? It's interesting. I just remember there being a lot more space up here. All right, where are we here? This one, a lot of people have been posting check Esdras, which is I've only heard of Esdras, E-S-D-R-A-S, in the last few weeks. Greco-Latin variation of the name of Hebrew Ezra, the scribe. So for a couple of years it was Ezra. That's all I ever heard. Now everybody's calling it Esdras. Before a few years ago, I've never in my life heard of Ezra. But I guess it's some kind of like a holy text from what, I guess it's Hebrew? Ezra. So this is a new word. I don't know. Suddenly everybody's calling it Esdras. At first I'm like, what in the heck is that? And it wasn't just one person. It's been like 5 people now. Esdras. So, I don't know. Esdras, that is Nemi for me. All right, I saw this thing that they're saying globally all whales' voices are lower. Here it says it's just blue whales, but they're all singing at a lower tone, that they've been slowly lowering it for years now, since the 1960s. No one knows why. Maybe it's healthier populations. They're less scarce, so they don't need to be as shrill. Maybe there's more noise now. Anyways, I've never heard of this until just now. They used to say all the noise in the ocean would prevent them from talking. Well, apparently nature has found a way, because now they've always been lowering their voices. Anyway, just weird. Blue whales' voices, while nowhere near falsetto, had been distinctly higher pitch in the Beach Boys era. Blue whales worldwide are using deeper voices lately. Some have dropped their calls by only a few tones, but all showed a steady decline. All right, anyway, whatever. All right, so slow loris, this weird animal. Apparently it has a poison gland right here on its armpit. This is what they look like. They're an Emmy for me, but they're an older one. Well, apparently now they have this poison gland in their armpit, and they can kind of lick it, get it in their mouth, and bite you and poison your butt. And also, they can spread it all through their fur, so if you bite them, it's poisonous. So this is a very recent thing. I mean, these guys came out. I didn't hear about any poison glands right away. I see this strip going down their back too. That's kind of new. And this weird thing on their head. So apparently these things are poisonous now. So this is kind of a mammal with poison fur, which is interesting. Also, the other story is that they put their heads up like this, like their arms up like this, and they're supposed to rock around. And then it's supposed to, in the dark, it's supposed to like mimic a cobra. So they do that, and supposedly they do these serpentine movements, and they got a poisonous bite. So now it's like this cobra mimic. You can see some of these are getting really light skins, white skins too. There's a lot of variation now in the fur colors. Look at that. I mean, does that not look like a Pokemon or something? It does not look like a real creature at all. But anyway, yeah, now they have poison glands in their armpits. Yes. Oh, Appleton Gallery remembers Sacramento between LA and San Francisco. Yes. You know, I have brought this one up many times, and most people are like, huh? What's Sacramento? Just like that other guy. And the few Californians that have come on did not corroborate what I said. So I don't think anybody has ever corroborated that. I like hearing that. I'm from Sacramento. For me, it has always been, but San Francisco is more straight to the west, if it instead is slightly southwest. Huh. Bakersfield is bigger. Redding is now in Northern California. Boom! Yep. And much past Redding, I don't recognize any of that stuff. All right. Okay, coming down the home stretch here. This is the last one for today because I'm pooped out. So a lot of people do not remember this Okapi thing. All right, so these showed up, it was about 2 years ago. We saw the first ones. The striping has gotten more extensive. AKA the African unicorn. Huh. Why are they calling it that? I don't remember that one being. African unicorn. I'm just going to click on this and see. So they look like kind of a hodgepodge of other animals. They didn't originally have this horn thing. Now they're saying they're related to giraffes. They have horn-like structure called an ossicone, like giraffes. They have the same gait as giraffes. There's been some rumors that maybe they're like bred from giraffes, but I'm waiting to see if that rumor materializes. They only live in Ituri rainforest. They have, 18-inch tongues. That, when they first showed up, they didn't have that. And they didn't have this. These little horn things, they did not have. They have stinky feet due to scent glands that they leave behind a tar-like substance to mark their territory. That's the new thing I wanted to talk about. They did not leave tracking of tar before. Also, this is a new one that they can communicate with infrasound. Elephants were the first one that got the infrasound communication, but now we're getting these other animals that can do the infrasound. Okay, now this is something I've not heard till just now. Although most of the animals have 46 pairs of chromosomes per cell, some can have 44 or 45 without showing any signs of physical abnormalities. That is super weird. I have never heard of any species having a variable number of chromosomes. That's totally new, without any abnormalities. That it's just natural for them to have 44, 45, or 46 chromosomes. That is new. I actually have been looking into the Okapi a number of times when they started to say they might be crossbred out of giraffes. They're listed as endangered. Deforestation, the usual yam. 10,000 to 50,000 Okapi left. There was a lot fewer of them when they first showed up. You know, they've got a lot more striping. The neck's gotten a little longer. Anyway, those things are just developing weirdly. That's really interesting about the chromosomes. Really interesting. There's been a lot of weird rumors about the breeding of these Okapi and where they came from. And this chromosome thing makes it look like there's going to be a good story there. So I would keep an eye out on those. Susan Mann remembers Sacramento. Yeah, it was right in the center of the state. But you know, the whole state has shrunk, so I'm wondering if Sacramento changed and everything else slid around. It almost looks like that. Let's see. Let's just do this. Find a decent map of United States. Okay. See if it'll get a little. All right, so Sacramento's up there now. Now for me, California oinked this whole region in here. We were a big state. We were just huge. And Washington just had a little strip up there. Oregon was over here. And so if you were that big, and then Sacramento was about in the middle. But now the California has shrunk way down. Oregon's up here. It looks like Sacramento hasn't really budged, but it looks like San Francisco has come down and everything else is like slid down, and only Sacramento has stayed the same. So it's right there. So also there's been a lot of just stuff growing up here. I don't recognize that mess. And now this is another pattern I've really seen, is that when then there's some great horrible catastrophe, like horrible flooding, a horrible typhoon damage, a horrible fires, it'll be in some area that I don't think even existed before. I don't know if those people are even real. It's like that's how it gets introduced. They say it was destroyed, and then so then you kind of have an excuse for hardly anybody living there and it not having much infrastructure because it all just burnt down. It was there before, but now it's just, you know, destroyed. But then everybody hears about it that way. But I do wonder about at least some of these disasters that they just seem to, a lot of them are really accumulated in regions that I'm not sure existed. And I'm not sure if that disaster really hurt anyone other than maybe non-player characters. I don't know. I just think it's really weird that the disasters are striking these new regions. The top end of California is one of those regions for me. So, I don't know. There's just something fishy. Something really fishy. Please do not feel old ever. My mom, who's 67, has taught me that age is just a number. You know, people live a lot longer, healthier lives in this timeline, so there is that. And we should, because you know what? Time goes by so quickly here, so I want more years If you're going to shorten them, I better get more. All right, anyways, I think Baja looked like a tiny hamster tail. Yeah, it was tiny. It was way smaller than Florida. Florida shrunk a lot. Why isn't the government talking about this crap? I don't know. There's too many weird things. I'm really starting to wonder how much is non-player characters, how much of the government. We have signs changing all the time, all over my town. I have never once seen a person put up a sign. Did they sneak out there at 2 o'clock in the morning and put them up? I don't know. All those street signs, all that stuff. I have never seen them put up a single sign. Baja is right below me and has grown in size by 4 times. Yeah, that's about right. And it's got that weird, well, from your perspective, that weird hook. And it's growing another hook out the side. Next week I'll come back with changes from my country. I'm sure there's a lot. Yeah, post them in the comments. All right, anyways, it's late. It's 2:30 in the morning. Can anyone stop the world and let me off? I don't know how to do it. I know. I don't know. Maybe, maybe we'll get a great world out of it. And at least you won't be bored in this world. Let's see. This is that new, I think that's that new dashboard thing, which I can't figure out. They've got this new thing in one of my computers it won't even load on. Let's try going here. So I just go back to classic, but I know that classic won't last forever. The heck, I don't even know what that is. That window is confusing me. All right. See, I can't find anything. Now I'm hoping this will lead to what I recognize. Live control room right here. They've got 2 things called live control room. This one here takes you to a whole different beast than this one does. New dashboard is useless. I can't even find like much of the live stream on it. And some of my computers it won't load. I hope they just kill it and go back to the old one. Just make a few little changes. The old one is... Anyways, complaining about YouTube, I'm sure it's a national tradition. All right. Anyways, I'm taking off. Thank you all for coming. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.